Ready. Play.
All right, well, we do have this eagerly awaited clash. I say eagerly awaited. It was touched upon in WTA Weekly that we could see that Rybakina was having a potential second round opponent, I think it is, in the form of Leylah Fernandez, and that is going to happen. Leylah won her first match against Maria Sakkari, 7-6, 6-4. Brenna, I want to hear your thoughts on that match, and then we'll come to some Elena and WTA stuff, WTA final stuff in a moment.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a good moment for Sakkari, coming
Okay.
through qualies here, accumulated to the surface and the conditions, and I thought it was a little bit of a letdown spot for Leylah, who came off that title last week. It was fairly hard fought, and to be honest with you, John, Fernandez was down a break in both sets last night and was able to kind of use her mentality and kind of that fighter-esque sort of game style to compete with Sakkari and push her off the rails eventually. Just wasn't able to, hold serve when she needed to. And that's what Leylah Fernandez does. And that's why, she's a top 30, 25 player at this point. But she has had that leg wrapped all of last week even and did have it wrapped last night. And while I was thinking it might be, something that could hamper her along the way, at this point, I'm thinking it's more kind of mental and she's comfortable with it and, it makes her feel more secure. So you can't lie when someone is on this big of a win streak. They're playing a good brand of tennis.
Okay. Regarding Elena Rybakina, of course, she lost to Leylah Fernandez, albeit 7-6 in the third set in Washington a few months ago. Leylah's in probably the best spell of her career. Of course, the US Open final run was amazing, but questions of whether she backed that up, I think, are legitimate. So in terms of a block of a few months, she's obviously won a couple of titles in the space of 2 months. If you look at Washington, then recently winning a title in Asia, and then obviously winning yesterday against Maria Sakkari, and beating Elena Rybakina en route to that title. So there's a lot of reasons for Mira Andreeva fans to be optimistic over Leylah's chances. And of course, I'm mentioning Mira Andreeva because if Madison Keys plays, I think there's still a question mark over that, but let's assume that she does play the WTA finals. That means Mira Andreeva and Elena Rybakina, one of these two, will be also playing. But of course, it's all in Rybakina's hands. I think if she gets to the semi-finals, this is, of course, the round of 16, so she'd have to win this match and also her quarterfinal match. But if Rybakina was to win those two matches, she is there because Mira Andreeva's not playing this week. I did mention this 2-1 head-to-head, and the other matches aside from that Washington one also included a win for Leylah in Cincinnati last year, and then there was a win for Rybakina in Doha. So fairly nip and tuck, 2-1 in to Leylah's favor. And she has won the previous two. All three of their encounters have been on a hard, but Rybakina's one win in Qatar last year was a lot more comfortable than Leylah's tight 3-set wins. I don't know. This is kind of too close to call. I think the motivation that Rybakina has maybe makes her the slight favorite. I mean, you could throw in the factor of the pressure will probably be a little bit more on Elena, but yeah, I don't think Precious. Funny enough, I know she has some wild inconsistencies in terms of looking like she's going to win big tournaments and then suddenly not winning them, or winning a tournament as she did recently. So you don't quite know what Elena Rybakina is going to turn up, but she has been a bit more consistent the last few months. Vukov, of course, back in her box, and there is a bit more consistency and solidity to her. And even in North America, even though she was not winning those tournaments in the build-up to the US Open, it was just, a few points here or there from probably winning some of those warm-up titles. Of course, she was serving for the first set against Iga in Cincinnati. She had her chances against Leylah in Washington, so she wasn't far away from doing big things pre-US Open. And now she has, of course, recently won a title, but so has Leylah. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say that we have the two title winners from last week,
Yeah.
which in most cases, you're thinking about kind of the physical fatigue, mental fatigue, but they are giving both of these players a day off, so they won't be playing today,
Yeah.
which definitely helps and makes it kind of harder to predict because maybe that physical aspect isn't as present or apparent. But yeah, I mean, from a motivation perspective, you think Rybakina would be a little bit more motivated, but that doesn't always yield on the court. So I think it's a tough matchup. I mean, you watch Cam Nori today against Rublev, and just this lefty kind of hook shot with a lot of shape, which is always kind of bouncing in different strike zones, and that's tough for Rybakina, a player who is very kind of level set in where she likes to strike the ball. But then on the flip side, you have a very flat backhand, which kind of shoots through the court, stays low, and comes a little bit quicker at you. So you just have both of those to kind of worry about, and it makes you a little bit more uncomfortable on kind of the defensive end or from like a neutral perspective. So Rybakina is going to really have to keep her head in front, especially serving well. Kind of just protecting her job, and then see if she can make any headway in the Leylah service games. Because look, I mean, in all honesty, Sakari was able to do that very successfully last night, and she led 4-love in the tiebreak. She actually served for the first set at 5-3. And Leylah actually failed to serve out the first set at 6-5. So there's plenty of roller coaster there, but eventually just the ability to lock in and just kind of having that more determined, confident look in her eyes definitely helped her get over the finish line last night. I do think Rybakina takes this one, though.
I'm just going for it, but
yeah,
it's paper thin.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.